new episode of Nonstop Nikhil. It's our second day here in Kampala, the capital of Uganda. Today on my agenda, I'm going to be checking out more sites in Kampala, try to make more of an effort to actually go directly to places instead of just wandering around. I think I got a good sense of what old Kampala is like through walking around its markets yesterday, walking through the diplomatic area in Nakasero yesterday. Having taken a look at what exactly travelers do here in Kampala, I know one of the stops is Kabaka's palace. It looks really impressive, and I'm hoping that that provides us a great opportunity to learn more about the history of Uganda. So let's head there. Also, another thing is that I need to buy my next bus ticket to head into Kenya. I really don't even know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. There are a couple options that are floating in my mind. Some seem more practical than others, but some also seem more adventurous and more interesting than others. So it's all about weighing practicality and what would really make a great story. So I think I'm going to go buy a ticket to Kisumu, which is a town midway between Kampala and the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, because I don't think I want to do it all in one stretch, another 12-hour bus ride. But I'm going to see what options exist and what timings between Kampala, crossing the border, and then heading to Kisumu. Hello everyone, I just made my first stop at Kabaka's palace, that means King's Palace, here in Kampala. And it's located on this hill because obviously a hill is a very strategically defensive site. And behind me you actually see the building, which was constructed in 1922, and its construction took until 1933, and it took 11 years because it was one of the most modern buildings at that time, based off of the British colonial style, to exist in this part of Africa during that earlier part of the 20th century. And it has such a stereotypically British style because the kings at that time, they were like the 33rd, 34th kings up to today's current 36th king of the Buganda kingdom. They spent so much of their time in Britain. They were guards to the Queen herself, and they had studied in Oxford and Cambridge and the like, so they wanted to construct a modern building like the ones they were seeing in the UK, and which did not exist here in Uganda, and so they built this palace. What's really interesting is that the Buganda kingdom is only one out of 5 kingdoms which existed here on the land of present-day Uganda. However, it was the one which dominated, therefore it gave the name to today's modern state, Uganda. And the name Uganda only came into being after the British came here and renamed the country. What's also really interesting is that there are over 50 clans which call Uganda home, and each clan has a totem which is represented by some sort of living thing, be it an animal, be it a plant, and each of the clan members respect and venerate their totem symbol so much to the point that they don't consume that item. So if you're part of a clan which has the totem of a mushroom, you do not eat mushrooms. And these clans play such an important role in the life of Ugandans up until today. And one example shows up in marriage. So for example, if you belong to a certain clan, you do not marry someone from the same clan. You do not marry someone from the clan which your mother belongs to. So you adopt the clan of your father, but you do not marry anyone from a clan who belongs to either of your two parents. That would be seen as being something that would outcast you from society. There's just some belief that anybody from your mother's clan or anybody from your father's clan are the equivalent of your brothers and sisters, so you do not marry them as a form of incest. Also, you have a straight line which connects the Bugandan King's palace with the Bugandan King's Parliament a mile away on one straight street. This was based off of the Royal Mile in Scotland, where only the king is allowed to traverse in a straight line from the palace to his parliament, where he will be meeting with the deputies from each of the different districts of the kingdom. The Kabaka's palace here in Kampala is not the only palace belonging to the king. Actually, the current king, the 36th king, resides in another palace located in the suburbs of Kampala, and there are also different royal palaces in each of the districts of the kingdom. The palace did not only serve a significant role during the kingdom of Buganda, however, even in the 1970s, when it was Idi Amin, probably the most infamous Ugandan and probably the only part of Ugandan history which most people outside of Uganda are familiar with, in the 1970s when he maneuvered a coup to overthrow the government here in Uganda. His government ended up building an armory on the ground of the palace, and that armory was eventually turned into torture chambers. So we also got to visit that site. What's funny is that the Israelis actually built the armory without knowing that it was going to turn into torture chambers, but hey, that's what happens when you sort of commission a project for a despot like Idi Amin, who does not have a great track record of human rights. But also the torture chambers here on the site of the King's Palace is not the only torture chamber here in Uganda. They're located all over Kampala. They're located all over the different cities of Uganda. Up to 25,000 people were killed on this particular site during that period. However, we do not know the exact numbers for sure. The great thing is that sites like this, the torture chamber of Idi Amin, located at the King's Palace, is open to visitors, so generations can understand exactly how not to repeat history and exactly how dark certain periods of history for their country were. The funny thing is that the guide made sure to mention that, again, this site is open to the public just because it serves as a reminder for how important human rights are. But hey, if you try to look up what the human rights record of Uganda is like today, it's not stellar. I actually just looked up a Freedom House record for Uganda before coming here, and it scores maybe 30 out of 100. It's terrible. You have pretty much no civil liberties. Everyone's pretty much oppressed if you do not fit the streamlined identity. And I don't really think they've learned too much other than just don't outright kill people. If all that constitutes human rights is you're not outright gassing people in torture chambers or feeding them into electrified water for not towing the government line, then yeah, I guess you've made some progress. But overall, the freedom and civil rights score here is not great. I hope I at least gave you an overview of what there is to see here at Kabaka's Palace. It's definitely one of the must-see attractions here in Kampala. Make sure you come and visit. You get a 45-minute to 1 hour guided tour for about $10. Yeah, let's see what's next on our visit here in Kampala. I just left the Ugandan Museum, which is like lackluster at best. Literally feels like you're stepping back into time, into 1992. Literally there was an exhibit from October 1992 and it looks like it hasn't been touched since. The whole museum almost gives you the vibe that it's a elementary school science fair. Everything's kind of like done on poster board with cutout pieces of paper and the like, which is unfortunate because I'm sure they have a lot of amazing stuff to share. There just isn't a lot of money to be invested in the museum, and that's so apparent. I also have to think that probably everything from Uganda that's worth putting up in a museum is probably in the British Museum or somewhere in the UK or France altogether. And so they have to work with what's still available here in the country, and it's not much. If I find something nice, I want to return to it, especially when I know that the restaurateurs at Bite of Benin take so much care and pride in their food and go out of their way to explain it to diners exactly what you're eating and where it's from and what pairs well with each other. And I had such great service there, and I told them yesterday I'm definitely going to come back to have another meal to get something that isn't just the entry-level West African food like the tomato stew with the jollof rice. So here we go. I'm back, gonna give it another try. Let's see what they'll recommend for me today. I haven't been vlogging at all this afternoon because it's been honestly just chaotic. Just trying to get through these streets, navigate them. I told you there's no grid system. There's nothing that really makes sense about how these streets operate. There's just government buildings in between a bus station, in between an old train station, in between a commercial area. And then if you just stand somewhere, people come up to you and be like, oh, you need to leave here, you can't be standing here. And you don't really know why, because again, it's nothing zoned intentionally like that. But I've also been trying to just go through this dilemma of where am I going to go tomorrow. I keep telling you that everything is spontaneous on the strip, and that's not out of design, that's just out of me just having no idea. when I can actually get to a certain place, so I don't plan anything. And when I don't plan anything, I just don't know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So my options for tomorrow, because I think I've kind of exhausted Kampala. It's not a very traveler friendly or touristy kind of city. As I mentioned, all the attractions are kind of very underwhelming. It's just a city that's all about roaming around and checking out different neighborhoods, different pieces of chaos, and I think I've kind of exhausted that right now. But what just happened is that after lunch, which lunch was good, had a nice spinach fish gravy with some semolina, and then went roaming around, went to the National Theater, again another very underwhelming stop, went to the crafts market behind the theater, which is also mentioned as an attraction, but also very underwhelming. And then I figured I need to exactly figure out where I'm going to be going tomorrow. And I have 3 choices. One was to go to Jinja, which is where you can see the source of the Nile here in Uganda. Very traveler-friendly sort of activity. And I previously had so many people telling me that I ought to go visit. That was one option. Second option was to go to Kisumu, and I've been invited to an island in Lake Victoria. That seemed really interesting. Could maybe spend a night there. But the thing is, with the timings, leaving Kampala to Kisumu, I would only get there at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And then from there, having to arrange all the connections by a boat, by a bus, by another boat to the island would have been really, really tough and exhausting. And the buses don't even leave at like the best time for that. So I was like, sorry, I can't do that. And then the third option was just to go straight to Nairobi and then chill in Nairobi. And that's exactly what I just booked. But as I was walking around trying to find a place to book my bus for my onward travel, I came across one of the bus companies, which I had read about as being one of the more reputable ones. Went in there, met a woman from Kenya who told me that, yeah, she's been traveling on that bus line for like the last 5 or 6 years, and she doesn't trust any other. So I figured, okay, if I've got to get out of here, I might as well just book a bus straight from Kampala to Nairobi, lessen my own stress, and at least know that I'm getting to the city where I can easily spend a couple days, and from where I'm going to be catching my onward flight to my next countries. And so that's exactly what I did. I booked a bus for tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m., leaving Kampala and then getting to Nairobi probably sometime the next morning. So it'll be another long bus ride. It would have been really nice to cut that in 2 by stopping in Kisumu, but I think that would have just made things a lot more annoying if I had to find onward transportation from Kisumu to Nairobi. I know all these names pretty much mean nothing to you all right now unless you look at a map and sort of piece things together, but nonetheless, I'll share it. If anyone's going to watch it, at least I'll watch it, or at least if any of you are planning on going to this random island, Manfongo or something like that in Lake Victoria, you'll kind of think twice about it, or try to maybe arrange this trip from Nairobi, where there'll probably be more direct transportation to Kisumu rather than doing it from Kampala, where it's a bit of a random stop in the middle of the night to get off at Kisumu. But right now, I'm just going to enjoy my coffee. I ordered myself a double cappuccino with some cold water, and it's nice and ice cold, so I'm going to enjoy it, and then we'll see what we'll do for the rest of the day. Good morning, everyone. I just checked out of my hotel. It's my last day here in Kampala. I don't even have a full day here because I'm leaving on my bus to Kenya tonight at 7:30 p.m. But right now, I'm just gonna go grab some coffee at the same place I went to on my first morning here, Java's Coffee. Try to get some breakfast there as well, since I decided not to have the breakfast at the hotel. There wasn't really filling it. It really wasn't filling anyway. And I figured it would just be better to spend the time chilling in my room and getting organized and booking a hotel for my stay in Nairobi rather than wasting time trying to eat breakfast there. Hello, so I was just about to go to the Cafe Java's right here across the street, and I started talking to Steven. And Steven's like very curious, obviously like everyone, about how to get to the US, and I keep telling him it's not as Rose gave a picture, as you might imagine, coming to the U.S.
And I would like to go also to USA.
Yeah.
Because the job we are doing here is not bad as such.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for me.
Yeah.
I need more job that can make me reach somewhere. So that's why most of the time I feel like I want to go to USA and make more money rather than staying here.
No, I keep telling no. What you see on TV, that's not the reality about America.
Like though people they sleep on the street, but if I go there, I get connection. I get people who can connect me there. Then I can work with them. I cooperate with them. Then I stay with them rather than staying here, because here there's no money. Fine, in Uganda we have the best weather in all world, but the money is not enough for us. I can work, I can do everything, but the money is not enough.
Yeah.
If I go there, I get more jobs, I get opportunities of getting more jobs. That's better for me.
Yeah. Tell me about your life as a Boda-Boda driver. How do you get into being a driver? Because there's so many drivers here.
Yeah, there's so many drivers.
Do you own the bike?
Yeah, I'm the one who owning that Boda-Boda because it's mine, you know. But doing a Boda-Boda here, it's not what I want in Uganda.
Yeah.
No, I want also to be a driver. I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to be in an office, but right now the job which is now available is a Boda-Boda. Okay, fine. There's another opportunities.
Yeah.
But what I can do, I have to depend on what I want, what I have.
What
It
you have.
depends on the days and the customers.
Yeah.
If the customer comes a lot, I get more. If they don't come, then I get less. So it depends. I can't tell you that
cannot tell.
exactly the money I get every day.
Yeah. Are there too many Boda-Bodas here? And not enough people wanting them?
No, you know, when you see there's a lot of Boda-Boda is here, but everyone is working.
Yeah.
Everyone is working.
Everyone gets their money?
Yeah,
Okay.
gets his money.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the good chance.
Okay.
Yes.
So everybody's still making a living. There are
Yeah.
enough people. There's enough demand for all the Boda-Bodas.
Yes.
Okay.
Even though they don't get a lot of money, but at
Yeah.
least they can earn a living.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
How does one become a Boda-Boda driver? Is it just that you buy your motorbike and that's it? Or do you have to get a license? Do you have to get a
Yeah,
certificate
of course,
for
you
it?
have to go to driving.
Uh-huh.
You get a driving permit. You
Okay.
get certificate. You have to be PSV. You have to be everything.
Okay.
Yes.
To make sure that you're safe.
Yeah, you make sure that you qualify to be on a loan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
If the actual tourist attractions here in Kampala are a bit underwhelming, the one thing that is not underwhelming at all is the markets. And this is completely a city of markets. Every district in the city has its own very large scale market, just like this one. But I think this one might be actually one of the largest in the city altogether and the largest in the country. You think it's such a small country, it would not have so much commerce going on, but there's nothing farther from the truth here in Kampala. The country itself is fairly small. It feels so cosmopolitan just because of all the populations from surrounding countries who now call it home. Due to it being such an appealing destination for asylum seekers and refugees. For example, you've got South Sudan in the north, you've got Rwanda and the Congo on one side, you've got Somalia on the other side, and it just produces an interesting mix of traders here. For example, you've got all of the Swahili traders in their Omani outfits, you've got native Ugandan traders, you've got Indians who've been here for a couple of generations before the expulsion by Idi Amin, made them refugees in their own to all different parts of the Commonwealth. You've also got significant populations of Eritreans and Ethiopians here due to the conflict going on in their own countries. They come here to find new opportunities for business, new opportunities for trade, and to live a more settled life here. And you find areas completely dedicated to their businesses, their restaurants, and their community. I've actually been so surprised with how much Somali I've been hearing, especially in the area near the bus stations, near my hotel. Well, it seems like almost everybody is speaking in Somali rather than Swahili or the Ugandan language or English. It also seems like chaos, but everything is actually organized into these blocks, given a letter. So if you're looking for a certain business, you can find it based on which letter block that business might belong to. You also would find that there are different plazas with different names. that there are different centers with different names, and so all these businesses, though they're bleeding into one major market, they actually are comprised of different divisions and makes it a little bit easier to identify a particular business if you need to. Though I don't know why you would ever need to identify a particular business, because it seems like almost all the shops here are all selling the same things anyway. It's all the same hashtag made in China items. And everyone's pretty much selling the same kind of merchandise. So I'm just seeing a lot of plastic items, a lot of plastic shoes, a lot of like fake products, a lot of the second-hand products as well. So I don't know, anywhere you look, you're pretty much going to find the same stuff anyway. As I was saying, that there are traders from all over the place here. The vendors, the shopkeepers are Swahili people, and you'll know that by their Omani dress. There are also Ugandans who are just from here. I was just speaking to a woman who owns a phone case store. And then there are also Indians, and there were a lot more Indians here, just as there are now in Dar es Salaam or in Nairobi. However, when the dictator Idi Amin took over in the 70s, he implemented an expulsion of the South Asians from Uganda and tried to take back the wealth and the businesses that were concentrated in European and Asian hands and bring them back to native Ugandans. And so many people lost their livelihood and then decided to leave, either to neighboring countries, to the UK, to the US, to other parts of the British Commonwealth at that time. So you see markedly fewer South Asians here than you'd see in the surrounding countries. The thing is, I plan to visit one particular market which sits at the bottom of the hill, and I don't even know whether I visited it or not, because they all just sort of bleed into one huge commercial zone overflowing with people traveling between one building and the other, just like transporting things on their head, in their hands, however they can on motorcycles. So it's just hard to keep track, but I think you got the picture for what that marketplace is like. I think there's another one I wanted to go to, which might be more focused on food, that we can grab lunch or something, but we'll see if we can find that in the first place. I just took a motorcycle taxi from my hotel to the Wandagaya area, and it's just started raining. But whenever I travel on the motorcycle taxis here, I choose to source them from Uber. I don't even know if it's more safe or anything, but it's already such a dangerous mode of transportation that any sense of safety I can get in terms of sourcing the driver and sort of making sure that the vehicle is new and good quality and that they're not going to drive like crazy helps. And I think so far everyone that I've found on Uber Boda has been really, really good. So these motorcycle taxis are called Boda-Boda. It's like border, because they used to be known for bicycles taking you through the no man's land between international borders, but now they're just referred to any sort of motorcycle taxis, and you find them all over the place. They're the main mode of transportation, especially if you're a solo traveler. They will save you so much money and so much hassle and so much time. The thing is just that you need to source them properly. So there are two main sources of the Boda-Bodas that people trust and tend to provide a premium service, if you will. One is Uber. Get them from Uber. It might just take 5 minutes for you to wait for the vehicle to come to you, and in that meantime 10 other vehicles will ask you whether you want to ride from the street. But I usually just wait it out and wait for the one that's sourced and verified from Uber to come pick me up, and they've always been a great ride so far. The other way is there's a thing called Safe Boda, which I see around a lot and a lot of people tend to use. That's just not as international and easily accessible for me. You see them wearing some sort of colored vests as well that say Safe Boda on them, so you can probably prefer to take those. I usually just wait it out and get my Uber one, and it's worked out pretty well. As I was saying before I was interrupted by the rain, I'm in the Wandagaya area of Kampala. And if you want a basic introduction to a market here in East Africa, start with this one before you go to the city center. As you can tell, I'm speaking very softly. You can still hear me. I'm not dodging people or carts or vehicles right now. The market is itself a building, and it has multiple floors where one floor has produce, another side might have meats, another side has more office buildings like this floor does, and is pretty quiet. And so you can sort of pick and choose and curate the kind of experience you're looking for in each sector of the market. This market is also nice to come to in the afternoon when it's going to rain, because it's all indoors. There's a lot of shelter and there's also a lot of eateries nearby. I think this area's market is particularly known for its chicken, so there's plenty of chicken restaurants. There's a big one downstairs that looks like it's attracting a lot of people. Most of these eateries are pretty busy with customers not only eating in but also getting food for takeout. So you'll see like women transporting prepared food in plates with silverware, walking to people's offices, delivering them to people on the side of the street, just like right behind me. So it's pretty interesting. You get a real sense of what daily life looks like when you are here and can actually pay attention to all the small details instead of just trying to, watch out for your arms and feet. Plenty of places to eat around here, and they are busy right now. When you step inside, they're really small. You can tell they're serving completely local food, and I pretty much see all the plates here that are local feature just like rice or some sort of cassava base with a beans gravy with like a side of greens. Pretty much that's like the one dish you see everybody eating for lunch. I don't know if that's just like the national typical staple to have during lunch, but you'll see it everywhere. And from what I've heard, or at least I've heard the West Africans tell me, is that people like their food really bland here. So just eating very bland rice and beans and greens does not seem very appealing to me. So I've mostly been going over to the West African restaurants and having that as my lunchtime food. I'm sure it'll get better when we go to Kenya, because then you'll have more of the Swahili Indian Ocean trade influence on the cuisine, and things should be a little better spiced. But I think here and in Rwanda, they prefer their food pretty bland and stick to their staples. There are plenty of the usual services also available at this market, primarily tailors and salons. I think those are the most popular service-oriented businesses in any market here in Uganda. It's about 5:30 p.m. right now. I got a call while I was at lunch from the bus company telling me that my 7:30 bus is actually canceled to Nairobi due to some mechanic issues. So they've actually put me on a 6:30 bus, but I think I'm going to have less than ideal seats on that bus since it's probably full already, and they're just going to like put me into whatever seat is left. But at least I think I should have a bus departing Kampala so I can make it to the border tonight and then reach Nairobi by morning. So right now I'm just waiting for the Boda-Boda, the Uber motorcycle taxi, to come and pick me up and then take me to the place for the MASH bus. For the MASH bus, so I can get on the MASH company bus and then depart Kampala. I've heard that's the best bus company around. So let's see how that goes. They have business class, they have VIP, that all seem to be reasonable, but I think I'm just on like a normal class. So we'll see how that is. I mean, it can't be worse, I think, than the trip from Ruhengi to Kampala. That's my baseline for how it must be to like travel overland in East Africa. But right now, still waiting about 5 more minutes for my Boda, and then we shall see what will happen next. Okay, here I am right in front of the bus that's supposed to be taking me to Nairobi right now. And the funny thing that I completely did not expect at all is that for a 6:30 bus, they told me to be here by 6 p.m. I'm here at 5:55, but on my way here, I've been getting like calls, like 3 or 4 calls, while I'm on the back of this motorcycle taxi being like, where are you? Are you coming? And I mean, I'm like, yeah, sorry, like, can I pick up the phone while I'm on the back of a motorcycle dodging traffic and trying to hope that I can maintain my limbs while running through rush hour traffic here in Kampala, which is crazy. When I'm on the back of a motorcycle, like, I am not that well adjusted yet. I see a bunch of other people always on their phones on the back of the motorcycles, but I cannot do that yet with my bags and everything. But the good thing is that, hey, party music is playing right now, but good thing is, like, I made it to the MASH POA bus that's supposed to be taking me to Nairobi tonight through the border crossing in Busia. Who knows at what time we'll actually reach the border crossing. Well, it's going to be another nighttime border crossing in East Africa for hashtag Nonstop Nick Hill. Hello everyone, and welcome to Kenya. This is the 11th country for Nonstop Nick Hill, and I'm somewhere outside, or I'm somewhere in Nakuru at the moment. which cannot even tell you like relative to Nairobi where that is, but all I can tell you is that I've been on this bus for about 14 hours right now, way more than I ever expected, and it's been a chilly morning. Other than that, we just stopped here, picked up a tea, which is probably like the worst tea I've ever had in my life. Also tasted like water, so definitely not my worth money. But all that happened was we left at about 7 p.m. from Kampala, reached the border in Busia around like 1:30 at night. We cleared the border with no issues, and then kept going into the night. I think there were some other stops along the way, but it's all a blur as to where we stopped, for how long, and why we're still not in Nairobi yet. But who knows? It's a fine ride so far. Made friends on the bus, and we should be there shortly, hopefully in another 2 or 3 hours, ideally. I will say I did the most foolish thing during the past 3 days in my stay in Uganda. I completely did not realize that when you cross the border from Rwanda to Uganda, you actually go ahead 1 hour. So my phone, which I've been using for 100% of my references as to what time it is, has been an hour behind, has been in Kigali time rather than in Uganda time. And so that's actually why I was late to the bus yesterday, and that's why they were calling me so many times asking where I was and whether I was gonna come, and I wasn't picking up because I was like, I'm on time. If not, I'm not actually on time, I'm early according to my watch, but obviously I was late to the 6:30 bus. I was showing up at 7 thinking I was showing up at 6, and I didn't even realize that I was an hour behind to pretty much everything until I compared the time with other people on the bus when we were reaching the border. And I was like, okay, it all starts making sense why they were asking me at the hotel whether I was going to show up for breakfast. And I was like, yeah, I am. I'm like, why are you guys asking me right now when I was actually like completely late to everything? So that just shows how you get into the rhythm of when you fly across international borders. They always tell you, you know, hey, you're landing here and this is what the current time is. But they do not tell you that on a bus when you're crossing international borders. So something to keep in mind, if you don't turn your phone on to like automatically detect the time, which I hadn't, I had it to a manual set to Kigali. I did not even think about changing it to Kampala time. I just figured there would all be one time zone, but good to know. Something to definitely keep in mind if you're traveling overland across an international border. There might be changes in time zones where you do not expect that.